Wake up, buyer payer people. It's a beautiful day. Go grab yourself another cup of joe and say hello to Jim and Michelle Rhodes on the Buy Here Pay Here morning show. Take it away, you two.
Good morning, everybody. It is Friday. We are happy. I know I'm excited to go into the weekend. We got a lot that's planned this weekend, and it's been an interesting thing this week. We've been super busy, and so I love looking at the calendar and going, "Oh, we don't have like 17,000 things to do on Saturday and Sunday." So it's a really great time for us to start working on some, planning and projects, because you guys know how. We love our projects and our planning and growth and all that fun kind of stuff. So, welcome. Just a couple quick things before we have some very important people waiting in the wings, distinguished guests waiting in the wings, to join us today. We have Luke Godwin and Jeff Watson from the Independent Dealers podcast, that'll be joining us in just a couple, and just shortly. And I listen to their podcast, and so we can talk about that when we get going.
Yeah, of course.
And okay, go ahead.
Good morning, Bill Elizondo.
And, speaking of Bill Elizondo,
yeah, we had a fun evening with Bill last night. He came over to visit us in Clearwater, and we actually sat in the studio together and recorded a podcast that we look forward to sharing over on our Tote the Note series, which is about leasing. And so we talked so long that it started to get dark in the studio. So but we think we shared some information that'll be useful to people that are contemplating leasing versus, or LHPH versus BHPH. So that'll be we think helpful. That'll be released probably in the middle of next week.
Yeah. I stepped out of the room, shut the door, because we have where we live right now. It's a 2-bedroom place, and so one of the bedrooms is our podcast studio. And so I shut the door and sat in the living room and was working on other stuff, because I was like, you guys really don't need me in here, so I'm not gonna stay. And when I came back in, I was glad that we had our light circle on, because it was so much darker in that room. So those of you who watch it, you'll watch that it kind of just shifts just ever so slightly with that. We also, after we're done recording that podcast, we went to a local restaurant and got old fashions. So
the tour continues. We're
exactly.
Having a lot of fun. That's just such an enjoyable beverage for anyone who enjoys a cocktail.
I have to say that so far my favorite has been double cut at the TIADA.
So good.
It was so good. And so we priced one of those smokers. It's like, oh, should we get one? But then we'd probably be drinking old fashions every single night. So that might not be the best idea, but we did tease Bill. He's going to be heading to Florida more often. It's like, oh, if we get one of these, you want to come over and join us for one when you come into town. So he's kind of excited. He was kind of excited about that. Also, we've got we have dates now for the Arizona Finance Conference, or the Southwest Finance Conference. October 20th through the 22nd. Jim and I will be.
I don't think that's right. I don't know. I think ours is on Sunday the 30th. So I think we'll check the dates. We'll verify the dates
on October.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, but we're on a Sunday for sure.
Okay.
So
we'll double check the dates, but we're speaking. So you can get on their website and kind of see what it is that's happening with on that front. But
good morning to David Norton, Martin Gutierrez, Amanda Sanchez,
and
Leslie.
Just so you guys remember, is that through StreamYard, who does our streaming, that we can't see who you are unless you click the little thing that says, hey, it's okay for us to share who you are on the StreamYard. So we just see a lot of you that say good morning. As a Facebook user, which is fine if you want to remain mysterious.
Oh yeah, that's what they're going for. Yeah,
that's mysterious.
Fun.
Should we get to like the
Let's
thing?
Do it.
Let's
do it.
like the thing. So I'm gonna actually add. We got a couple of distinguished guests here, and we are so happy that we could have both Luke Godwin, Jeff Watson from the Independent Dealers podcast. Yay! Wait, hold on.
Oh, the applause. There you go.
Yeah.
We have fun with that.
And the crowd goes wild.
The crowd does go wild. It's so much fun having one of these boards that has like all these really fun little sound effects that we can use when we want to. And so first off, guys, I'm a fan. I'm a pretty big fan. I really, really love what you guys are doing. I love the content of, how valuable what it is you guys are talking about for dealers out there. And yeah, it's just I plug. I think that the last one I talked about that everyone should listen to were the 3 ways that you're losing money. I forget the exact title right now, but
the one with Steve Karsten.
Yeah.
So good.
Such a great podcast. So
we got a ton of stuff to talk about today. I'm in particular, I'm looking forward to learning kind of how your podcast came to be a thing. Michelle loves telling the story about how our morning show came to be, so I'll let her tell that story afterwards. But also, I know I saw a mention out there that Carrie Watkins was going to be tuning in, looking forward to getting educated. So she knew we had some smart guys on. So Jeff, I'll be counting on you to say something smart first. We'll have you say something smart first, and then we'll go to Luke. So
smart. You do listen to the podcast, so you do know that's.
Yeah, no, you guys, we'll have some fun today. I think we wanted to jump into a couple things, and I wanted to
let them know how they got it started.
Oh yeah. So Jeff, why don't you tell the story about, so which one of you said we should do a podcast, or was it a wife? Was it a 20 group? How'd this happen?
So it was November 2018. And I'm a big audio fan. My attention span for reading
he can't read. He can't read.
It's the big words that get me. So I listen to a lot of audiobooks or, audio podcasts and, Cardone and Gary Vee and Bigger Pockets and all those were big at the time. And I thought, there's not really a strong car dealer education type podcast. I think Cirillo had his, and there was maybe a couple other small ones. And so I reached out to the Facebook group. We have a kind of a closed dealer only Facebook group called The Independent Dealer. And I thought, who could I find in here that is both smart, charismatic, well-connected, attractive, and would be a great co-host.
So he reached out to Dan Reel first.
So after Dan Reel shot me down,
had to settle for me.
I went for someone with more of a radio face, and I found Luke.
Right.
God.
And it's kind of funny that a couple of months ago I went back and looked at our early conversation, and it pretty much flowed the exact same way in the first couple of emails as it still does today, which is, dude, where are you at? Where are you at? Are you serious about this? Are you going to do it? Are you getting on? Where are you at?
Yeah.
And we finally corralled them into it. So it's been good. Yes. About to be 4 years. So
I mean,
still enjoying it.
I'm kind of with Jeff. I was a huge podcast fan. I've been listening to podcasts, I guess, since they came out. I remember downloading them onto my iPod. How long ago was that? And using a tape deck in my car so I could use the tape deck and actually plug it into my iPod and listening. So I've been listening to podcasts forever, and really going back and forth to auctions years ago, enjoyed it. I tried to learn to speak a different language, but that never worked. But anyway, so I was kind of, as soon as Jeff brought it up, I never even thought about it. And I just thought, this is something I want to do. And Jeff is the brains behind it. I'm the face and the voice.
There you go.
And thanks, Jeff.
Yeah.
I hadn't said that.
Yeah. That's awesome. Amanda, yes, it is Kramer. We've been in that office at Luke's office. And yes, that was one of the first things I asked when I was like, is that Kramer? That's Kramer. And
right. And we've also been to Jeff's place in Southern Utah.
I haven't. You have.
I thought you.
No, I didn't go with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
We were doing our RV tour. And I just finished a stint in Zion's National Park, and then we were just kind of doing laundry in St. George.
We should probably clarify we were near near the park. I don't think you can camp in the park. So
you may be one of two people that have been coast to coast in both studios.
Oh yeah, how about that?
Yeah.
Wow,
that's a pretty.
We should get a star, some kind of badge to put on the website.
A sticker on the back of your RV or something.
There would only be. I mean, there's only probably a couple other people. There's a lot of people that come here.
Right.
But getting to Jeff is a little harder. I'm a little nicer. I'm a little nicer to vendors anyway.
We headed over to Luke's because we couldn't get approved at Jeff's place. And so
oh gosh.
That's awesome.
So really the philosophy of the podcast is Luke and I mean, we're not experts. We don't claim to be. We're not accountants. We're not lawyers. We have no professional education. But we're the reporters, right? We're curious. We like to ask the questions. We like to find out the answers, not only for ourselves and our own operations, but people that talk to us or ask questions of us. It's like, well, hey, I don't know how that works. I don't know what that's supposed to be, but let us go find the experts that do know, that do study it, that do have the answers. And so kind of look at ourselves as like the news reporters of the car business.
Yeah. That's a great point. I've probably learned more being on the podcast and had more opportunities about being on the podcast than ever before in the car business. And, don't get me wrong. Before I was on the podcast, I was speaking a little bit and doing a couple of things, but nothing to this extent. And just the knowledge we get, and our network has grown so much by doing this. It's benefited my bottom line. It's benefited me as a person, really. So it's kind of selfish to do it, honestly, Jeff.
Yeah. So you guys, you said you knew each other through a 20 group. Is that right?
No, we didn't know. We didn't know each other at all when Jeff reached out. I was like, "Who's this Yahoo?" Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd been
the rest is history.
I'd been a convention, participator, and for years at that point. I guess I probably started going to conventions in 2010 or so. So I'd been to national conventions since 2010, a couple state conventions by then. So I knew a lot of dealers because of my involvement with NIADA, and I'd never met Jeff. And I was like, well, who's this guy? Utah. I didn't even know there was dealers in Utah. And so, we formed a fast friendship, and then we were in the same 20 group. Now we're not, but yeah.
Okay.
Well, I have to say, as a listener, there's a really great chemistry between you two. It's fun to listen, the banter and all of that. You guys seem to really, you play well together.
It's easy. It's easy when you don't like each other. I mean,
yeah. And it's easy when you know you're always right. It's
right. That helps.
We'll let you guys decide who's always right.
Oh, that's funny.
So yeah, Michelle, you didn't tell the story about how our little morning show came to be.
Have you guys? You familiar with how our little morning show came about?
Of course, they listen every morning.
Oh, I know, because they do listen every morning, right?
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So we'd already started the Tote the Note podcast. And which is kind of like our 60 minutes. It's a little bit more heavy, the heavy education kind of podcast. And for those of you who want to see everything we've got out there, pretty much so, you can find it all on YouTube. We only have a few right now on our syndicated station. So there's my plug. So we were sitting in our newly updated podcast studio for Tote the Note, and we're just playing on a Saturday. We got the headphones on, we got the mics on, and we're listening to each other. It's like, this is really cool. And then I turned over and I looked at Jim and I said, we should do a morning show. And Jim's like, we should do a morning show. So this was a Saturday, and our first broadcast was Wednesday.
Yeah.
And so we've just been, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern. Even when we went to NIADA, it was 6 a.m. out there. Yeah, that was fun.
People don't, and people may, but I don't think people in general understand the amount of work that goes in to do a morning show or a 1 week podcast, and the commitment that you have to do. I remember at the very first, maybe in the first 4 or 5 weeks, I said something to Jeff, we can just take this week off. He's like, that's not how this works. You have to be very consistent and you have to keep it going. And luckily we've built enough content that we can. And I don't know that we've ever really recycled anything, have we, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm trying to think back. I don't know that we've ever missed a week. I do think we've repeated one. And every so often we have to go to like the highlight reel where it's like, oh, we didn't even have time. Let me grab some old episodes and piece them together into something. So we've done that once or twice. But I do remember, I think around maybe the 18-month mark, I felt like we were in a bit of a lull where I was like, oh, shiz, man, we have covered everything. What do we do now?
Well, then we started COVID.
But
you guys started COVID? Now we know.
So, but now I feel like I'm back at like it's month 2. Like we've got so many topics and so many ideas to cover that it's like, oh man, it's silly that you're like, well, it's buy here, pay here, or it's the used car industry, or it's there's a million things. And there's always going to be a million things because it's ever changing. Your philosophies are changing. The details are changing. Like, it is kind of silly that we can just talk about this industry for hours and hours.
And there's so many new people we meet that can be on and get a good interview. So, just shut up and let them talk.
There will be new topics come up on Facebook today. So, it's like you just got to kind of see what's happening out there and keep up with the dialogue. Because that's what I say to Michelle. We will not run out of stuff to
We've
talk
had
about,
so many people say, how are you going to keep having content? I mean, what are you going to talk about? It's like, oh, it's easy. It's easy. Yeah,
there's plenty, and there's just always something new, whether it's going to be the new industry news or these latest conversations, because we just find that there's stuff that comes up inside those groups where there's both sides of a situation, and maybe it's a repo situation or whatever, and for us, we're keeping our morning show down to about 30 minutes, and so we just kind of want to keep that pretty brief.
And I do want to agree with y'all that it is a lot of work to do one of these.
That's why I'm going to retire
when I say the easy part, when I say the easy part, it's just like coming up with topics. Like, who can we talk? That's the easy, just like the brainstorming. But then you have to orchestrate who's coming, when are they coming? Do they have the proper links? Do we, what do we do with this after we're done recording? Are we all going to be there? Luckily, and I don't know if you guys have experienced this, that we've there was one at the very beginning. It was kind of a rough start because we started it was a rough start. I went to Disney World with a good friend, and I was there for a Wednesday broadcast and a Friday broadcast. And so Jim did him by himself.
on a dial-up connection.
It was
terrible internet.
Well, I mean, people don't get to see behind the scenes, and I'll tell this story on Jeff just because I think it's funny. Carrie Watkins, who's hopefully watching and listening. I think I saw her a second ago. We one of the first years we did How I Built This, or maybe the second year, Carrie woke up, got all dressed up and makeup on and all this, and we recorded the entire thing. I mean, it was great. I'm sorry, we didn't record the entire thing. We did the entire interview. And then at the very, Carrie jumps off, and then Jeff goes, I didn't press record.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
And I didn't know Carrie at the time. So I was like, can we call her back and do this again? Or do I have to pretend like we did it, but we just never aired it?
It was Gordy Tormolin in our case.
Yes, it was Gordy Tormolin in our case.
I mean, it was brutal, and I was like, "Oh my God, Jeff, what in the world?" And so we were able, thank goodness, Carrie is a good sport and a good friend of ours, both of us now, and so we're just like, Carrie, you're gonna hate us, but we've got to redo this, and she was a good sport. So
she's gracious.
That is the fear. So I don't want to miss the opportunity to talk to you guys about I know that you guys are in this for similar reasons, and really it's about education and reaching more people out there. Michelle and I have kind of a newfound motivation to do what we can to help reach those, approximately 18,000 buy here, pay here dealers that are not very engaged at this point in time. They're just, we go to the conferences, and you guys know, we see the same, few thousand people, sometimes the same few hundred people. And so we just recognize there's a whole group out there that's just missing out on being connected to the conferences and just education as a whole. And you guys deliver some fantastic education. And so I think that's part of the motivation here. So I wanted to shift over and kind of talk a little bit about what you see about the industry. Do you share that perspective about, just a lot of people not plugged in?
Yeah, I mean, it's, this is something that state and national associations have been going through for years. And it's, I'm not sure that we're ever going to have 50% engagement. I'm not sure we're going to ever have 25% engagement when it comes to dealers. There's really some very small dealers. There's some really big dealers who, some of the big dealers think they know what they're doing. They don't need to listen to us, or don't need to go to convention, this, that, and other. Then there's some really small dealers that just don't know. I think what we're doing, both y'all and us and other break-off type associations, are trying to bring some more of that into the fold. I don't know that's ever going to be more participation than what we currently have, but we're going to try, right, Jeff?
Yeah, I think that's probably it. I mean, you look at any industry, and there's probably 10 or 20% of the people functioning in that industry that care to be involved with any kind of formal education if they don't have to. If they're not forced to do continuing education or some sort of thing, they just don't. I think about any other industry I'm involved with, and it's a very small fraction of the people in that industry that care to learn through conventions or podcasts or communities. So it is what it is. But yeah, we're hoping that we're reaching the few that get on iTunes and search up, oh yeah, how can I learn about Buy Here, Pay Here, or get on YouTube and want to learn about something, how to run their dealership better. And hopefully that, oh wait, there's a whole podcast for this, or there's a whole YouTube channel community that's built around bettering my dealership. So, by having it there, at least it's an option for people to someday discover if they decide to get curious.
It's amazing the amount of people. I mean, you talk about, we've been on for 4 years. It's amazing the amount of people when you go to convention, and I mean, I just figure people know who I am, so I'm kind of oblivious at times, which is probably not the best. So I'll start talking to somebody, and then somebody will say, oh, I recognize your voice. I know who you are. And then the next guy standing next to him goes, what are you talking about? A podcast? What is this? So the amount of people you even meet at convention that don't even know what we do. And then the amount of people that we reach that don't know about convention. So it's a huge, it's an overlap there that we're still exploring, I think.
Yeah. And I love what you mentioned, Jeff, is, there's not a lot of people that tap into the formal education. And basically what we're doing with a podcast is kind of informal education. It's like fun and entertaining at the same time. And so we really do have a different kind of an opportunity than the conventions do to be able to pull people in. And it's like, just, listen, have some fun, learn a couple of things, and then go about your day. You don't, and I know for Jim and I on this podcast specifically is that we because we have a different format than the Independent Dealers podcast, where it's more just conversational and a few days a week, that it's kind of more like Good Morning America is what we've something like that, where we can, hey guys, the thing is happening, you can still register, and let's go to do the thing, and so it's just, I really love that what you guys are doing, what it is that we're trying to do too, is just like, let's just have some fun, and let's just get people tapped in somehow. Let's get them involved somehow, even if it is just for the entertainment factor, because you hear the stories and the fun stuff, and it's a great way to get people starting to get tapped in.
Yeah, and I would just share that Michelle and I announced on Wednesday, we announced some time ago that we're marching ahead with the BHPH Nation. So right now it's just a landing page, and you can pre-register with an email. But what we're building there is a platform that we believe will be of benefit to lots and lots of dealers. And the best example I can give you, the way we intend for that to work, is have all the resources. Somebody hits BHPH Nation and they'll be able to, find all the registration information for their state associations. They'll be able to find the independent dealer podcast there. They'll be able to find, all kinds of education. And so there'll be a whole platform there that we think will be a benefit. And we announced on Wednesday, we're making that a nonprofit. So it's like, we're just trying to make it clear. We're not doing this for Jim and Michelle. This is about the industry. We're inviting everybody, including you guys, to join us and helping, create that.
So can I ask them? You guys willing to have your podcast listed there?
Hey, we're fine with the podcast being listed anywhere.
Yeah.
What's funny is you don't have to do everything for money. It's one of those things. It's like if you build it, they will come, right? So it's about getting content out there, and it's a good thing y'all are doing, because there needs to be more education.
Yeah, so we're just trying to make sure all the associations are invited to join us. We're not trying to do anything that's going to be anything but a help to the entire industry. And if we can build something that just makes it easier for people to find all the stuff in one place, that's the idea, really. It's as simple as that. And so we're prepared to commit to build it. We're putting our resources into getting the thing built. And then we're just trying to make sure everybody knows this is not meant to be a threat to anyone. And the best way we knew to explain that was just, it's going to be a nonprofit.
Yeah.
We're not in it for the money.
Absolutely. One last question we kind of wanted to cover with you guys is, and Jim put on here, we probably won't have time to get to this, but observations. Why buy here, pay here dealers fail? Why, if you guys have any input, because I know you've interviewed a lot of people, and I've seen a lot of things happen in the industry since you guys started your podcast, and since you started bringing people on and you're trying to educate and all of that. What are some of your insights about how or why?
And before you answer, I'll share with you that I'm recording with Brent Carmichael this afternoon a session on that subject. So, obviously Brent's been a lot of places and seen a lot of that stuff, and I've seen some of that myself, but obviously we want to get you guys feedback on that as well.
Take it first, Jeff, and then I'll.
I love this topic.
Gloom and doom Jeff, as I call him.
Well, here it is. I think it's realist. I think it's one of those things where you've got to know what not to do. You've got to know where your weaknesses are to know what could take you down. When you ask me, Jim, how do buy here, pay here dealers fail? I don't know. It's probably happening to me right now. And that's it's honestly the scariest thing about this whole industry, and even one of the scariest things about hosting a podcast and putting all this on record, is that someday myself and or my banker, the lawyers, the FBI, or the SEC could go back and listen to all of this and have quite a case as to explain why I tanked and went under through my own admissions in my podcast. But no, seriously, it is. I love the cautionary tales because it tells me what to look out for. We always talk about, that guy's making great money and he's selling these cars and he's living this lifestyle and everything's wonderful. But it's like, well, yeah, he's leveraged to the hilt and he doesn't have cash controls and his manager's stealing from him and he doesn't have a good turn time. So yes, I love to hear about all those things. How it's happening, this is my observation. Obviously, through the pandemic and hard inventory times, we saw a lot of dealers get out because they just could not or would not buy the inventory at the inflated prices. I'm not going to buy that car. It's too expensive, blah, 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 right? So a lot of guys just got out of the game. Capital constraints will probably be the next thing. What I worry about is that we are so focused as dealers on our inventory and how hard it is to get cars and how hard it is to get parts and how hard it is to, find good people, that I, as a dealer, am not giving my collector the kind of attention and time that she needs to make sure my portfolio stays healthy. I'm so busy in the shop trying to buy cars and trying to get cars to the front line that I'm not coaching her and educating her and looking at these problem children that could be quite a tidal wave of delinquencies coming if a couple of dominoes fall the wrong way.
Yeah, I heard Bank of America did a survey over the last month or so, and that's 38% of Americans are behind on their debt or behind on their bills. And so I say that number one, I think the reason buy here, pay here people go out of business is because of capital, lack of capital, or lack of understanding of how to use the capital they are given by lenders.
Right.
Some of them get on hamster wheels and can't get off, and then they quit selling as many, and then they're dead. So leverage is the number one. Number two, I think, is taking their eye off of their business, as Jeff was describing. This is a hard business, and I do not want to be in it forever because it is that hard. I'm 20 years old. I look like I'm 80. So
yeah, right. We believe you.
But I've been doing the day-to-day of this 100% day-to-day since 01, and probably 20 hours a week from 96 to 01. And so I'm 21 years in, and it's harder now than ever. It's gotten harder in the last year. You lose focus. If you don't go to conventions, you don't talk to other dealers, you live in an echo chamber, and it's hard. It's hard business. If you don't have capital, if you don't have the proper funding, if you're overspending, if you're over leveraged, you're going to go out of business. And that's what I see happening.
Yeah, those are great points, gentlemen. I think, I think the leverage thing, we see that too. I talk a lot about people just moving too fast. I think there are businesses maybe where you could get away with that. Our business is just one that when you move too fast, it's hard to keep your eye on the target, as you talk about. And so, yeah, there's so many moving parts in what we do in buy here, pay here that, if you're going too fast, I just say, you can race right off a cliff in this business if you're just not paying attention.
Going too fast is something that, oh my gosh, these people who get in business and don't have any capital and they're selling, 60 and 80 cars a month. I've seen those people die so fast, 2 years, and then everything hits the fan, or even, less than that. That's a really good point, Jim.
Yeah. You also see a lot of absentee owners. They think that they can get this thing up and running, and then they can go, vacation. And there's probably, I know there's some large buy here, pay here dealers that have got it figured out, and they're living great lives, and they're vacation home down in the Bahamas, and their whole operation just runs like a fine-tuned machine. But I don't get it. I think more dealers get burned by starting to think they're making money, and so they're out playing and doing all these other things, and they're not watching.
Well, and it's what you're saying is that what I'm kind of going down my own path on this one is that a dealer that's really, really successful, if they stay successful, it's because they still have a very, very good finger on the pulse of what is happening in their business. And there are some things you can do with that from a distance, and there's other things you can't.
Yeah. And I got to say, that's one of the bigger arguments for 20 groups. Obviously 20 groups can be highly valuable, and it's just, at least you get your numbers in front of you, and you get to have other people see your numbers. And so that's a lot of value. And just having that piece alone is worth an awful lot, to be able to know that other people are seeing this stuff. We've got, kind of some built-in accountability partners in that. And you get to hear some different ideas, because sometimes, to your point about we get blinders on, we get in there and we're fighting the fight every day, and we quit paying attention to some of the other pieces,
Yeah. And to your guys' point, to have someone like Jim, someone like Bill Elizondo, someone like, Ben come into your dealership and train your people, educate them, but also keep an eye on things, a lot of employees and owners, they have blind spots, and the employees might know the owner has a blind spot. But if they know that Jim's going to be in their dealership quarterly doing a training on some new thing, or looking at some new aspect, or analyzing some new metric or key performance indicator, that, you're able to sniff stuff out.
Right. For sure. Yeah. So we'll invite people to join the podcast. We get that recorded with Brent. We look forward to his perspective on those things. But yeah, gentlemen, we appreciate you making time. We kind of have to keep these around 30 minutes. By the time people drive into work, they got to get out of their car and get in the place.
It's a Sesame Street culture. So it's a little bit long.
Yeah. But we do appreciate you joining us. Good information. And we look forward to having you on again one day soon.
Thank y'all.
Thanks.
You're welcome. All right. So just a little bit of a reminder for everyone, Monday's homework, because, we give homework out here on our Monday management we're talking about seize the day. Pay attention to what it is that's what you're doing during the day. I think that I talked about a podcast that the Independent Dealers podcast did for doing delegating. So it was a good one on that. So remember, we're taking our lists of things that we do and we're siloing them on the things that I need to do, the things that I want to do, the things that I have to do because no one else knows how to do them.
Right.
And then also the things that I am wasting my time. And it's like, why am I doing this kind of thing? And then we'll be talking more about that on Monday. Also, another awareness thing, the BHPHnation.com. If you guys are interested in learning more about that, when it comes to where we're at and when we actually have our official launch, please go to BHPHnation.com and there's a little form there for you to sign up to get information. It's free. That's free. If you want to, because the Nation will be a subscription. And it's just going to be $9. It's just going to be to like cover the costs of running the thing since we're going the nonprofit route.
But they're not putting a credit card. If they go today, there's no credit card.
No. At the Nation. If you want to, one of the things that we're going to be putting in the Nation is the dealer track. And that will be part of your $9 a month. So if you want to get access to that now, please feel free to go to different website, BHPHinstitute.com, and go ahead and get yourself started on the dealer track and take a look at the stuff that's in there. That's part of what's going to be living in the Nation. And, there's a lot of good free content in there as well for education. So,
thanks.
Right.
Yeah. So thanks again for tuning in. And for those of you not already subscribed, get over there and find the Independent Dealer podcast. I'm sure it's all syndicated on the podcast channel, but we know you can find it on YouTube, which is where we find it. But yeah, Luke and Jeff providing some great information out there. So find them as well.
Thanks again. And we hope you guys have all a great weekend, and we will see you Monday on Management Monday.